Hola, 'tis I, Alycia. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to look into Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander. We're going to look into the relationship. We're going to look into the trial. And we're going to look into what's been going on with Jodi post-conviction. So, if you remember back in the day, 2008, Travis Alexander was a 30-year-old salesman. I believe he was selling prepaid legal. And then he met Jodi Arias, and they were then hooked up as a couple. I don't know. There was these interesting things that came out during the trial. They had dated for like 5 months before they split up. She had converted to being a Mormon, but they were getting down in the bedroom. And apparently Travis felt some guilt about that. And, you know, he wasn't being a good Mormon. And who knows what the whole deal is with that anyhow, because she and him broke up. She, at some point, calls and comes over and they have a hookup. And while they're hooking up, Jodi said it was a little rough. And after that, Jodi says that Travis came after her. I'm using, watered down language so I don't get in trouble here on Tuba the U. She said because he came after her after their rough bedroom antics, she was defending herself and he came at her like a linebacker or something like that. She had to defend herself. She finally had admitted that she was responsible for his passing, but it was all self-defense. And before that, you can go back. This is one of those trials you can go back and watch the whole thing. She had claimed like there was these ninjas that came into the house. It wasn't her. She just, she wants to support the family. Oh, I'm so shocked this happened, XYZ. Then she gets caught up, and eventually the jury convicts her. When it gets to the sentencing phase, where she had not been able to remember the details on the stand of what happened during the crime, magically a fog had been lifted. And what? I can remember the details and the order of the things that were done to Travis that took him off the earth plane. She had, during, I believe, the sentencing part, she had also unveiled a t-shirt. I mean, if you saw the shirt, you would have been blown away. So this was her idea that she was going to be donating money to charities. That's what her life's work. She was so inspired now that this is how she was going to live her life. And so she told the jury. She got convicted and sentenced to life in prison, no possibility of parole in 2015. Let's go and do some deep diving here on Jodi, Travis, and the crime. All right, we're going to be using the Madhouse Tarot. I'm not a mental health clinician, but this deck has psychological aspects associated with it, and that's why we're looking in with this deck. But like everything here, this is a tarot reading for entertainment purposes only, allegedly, and opinions. And if you like tarot readings like this, you can come join me in the Moon Moth Manor on my website, AlyciaWicker.com, to get more and get some exclusive and early release videos. So I want to look into first their relationship, Jodi and Travis. What was that relationship all about? Oh, I need the spectacles. I need to see what I'm doing here. This is going to be Travis's side. Okay, and her. Oh, no, there's a cat with red eyes. That's not good. Underlying. Well, let's have underlying. 4 of Cups, underlying energy of this relationship. Not what either of them wanted. It did not fulfill expectations for either of them. So there's that. Over here, have the 3 of Wands, This is Travis's side, right? Three of Wands, planning for the future. And perhaps he thought he could have a future with her, maybe, before, sometimes you're thinking, oh, we're having a relationship, let's see how far this goes. And she has Page of Coins. She's also setting goals, but this one's related to dinero. So she could have been like, oh, he's successful. I could be making some money. Or I'll be marrying myself a rich dude or something like that. Could be related to that. Now, like I've said before in these readings, Madhouse Tarot has its own definitions related to psychological conditions. Again, I'm not a licensed mental health professional, but I also have to read them off the cards because it's like there's a bunch of stuff here. So let's see, Three of Wands. Okay, spontaneous activity scattered over excitation. It's not a word in my vocabulary. This is Travis. And with Page of Coins over here with her, passion for pathological hoarding, fear of throwing things away, only sees values in material things. Alrighty. So this is what's Travis bringing to the relationship? We have Five of Swords, which is kind of an interesting energy. Obsession, destructive behavior. Now this is interesting. It says demonic possession. However, if we relate this to Travis in a way, he had a tough time, allegedly, reconciling, being a young dude and getting down with the ladies with his religion, right? So that could be fighting his own personal demons. Okay. And she comes to this relationship, Eight of Wands, inertia, lack of willpower. She's kind of just going with it. Interesting. We have where she felt they were with the relationship, and selfishness, self-centeredness, obsession with small-scale greatness, and self-indulgence. That's her. And his obsession with the relationship, imitation of, well, that's kind of weird. I'm not even going to read that one. Hysteria. That one's hysteria. I guess that could be kind of like if I think about back in the day, way back in the day, people had hysteria over the Beatles and they're just like, oh my gosh. Maybe he was like looking at Jodi like, oh my gosh, like, what? Maybe she was very like exciting and new. Okay, so this then would be where they were hoping the relationship goes. She has Ace of Coins, which would be being out of touch with reality. So whatever ideas that she had, of course, that's also Pentacles. So that could have been new financial opportunities. But out of touch with reality here on where this relationship was actually going to go. So she saw going to the finish line. Meh, wrong. He has the Three of Swords, anxiety, negative thinking, panic attacks. So this is also a heartbreak card. So he's like looking at the future of this relationship like this is just nothing but trouble for me. Nothing but trouble for me. When they first got together, what did they think of each other? We have him thinking of her perfectionism. He had some suspicions, paranoia, and might have thought she was going to be a little bit manipulative. Where did she see this? Two of Cups. Increased S activity. Bow chicka bow wow activity. Hysterical behavior. She saw him as desiring to have this be a center of attention. Interesting. I don't know. Everybody said that like they loved to be around him. Probably had a magnetic personality. That could be it. And their doubts about the relationship. His was false pregnancy, eternal infancy, vigilant maternal control. She was kind of he was worried that maybe there could have been a pregnancy scare, that she was going to be this overburdening woman in his life, an eternal infancy, that she wouldn't grow up. Interesting. So I guess he felt like he had more maturity over her. And her doubts, fears about the relationship, that he had a fear of intimacy, that he had problems with hearing or speech, or not listening to her and not wanting to communicate with her. All right. So, not a match made in heaven at all by any stretch of the imagination. This is a relationship that's just not good. While we have this deck out, let's then just kind of look into Jodi's energy. What is just the energy of who Jodi Arias is? What is her energy? Ace of Wands, really. Hyperactivity, hyper S wordality, aggression, hot temper, anger. Past struggles with justice. That's interesting how that turned out for her. Unforgiving, vengefulness, meticulousness, jealousness, repressed overexcitement, and a strong sense of justice. Okay, that seems to be fitting. And her driving ambition, 5 of Wands. A lot of Wands energy here. Aggression, destructive behavior, bodily harm to others. Okay. Her overriding concern through life would be can't get things done and manipulative behavior. Emotional undercurrent. The Lovers. Shocker. The Lovers. Hysteria as a way to attract attention by any means necessary. Narcissism. Self-admiration. You don't say. Her fears. The Tower card. Really, you don't say. This is a whole bunch of... not shocked. So her unspoken fears relate to obsession with predominant ideas, manifestations of increased aggression and cruelty. Her obsession here is, High Priestess. I might have to put a crystal on that. So, obsession here, obsessed with the idea of the High Priestess, secretiveness, arrogance, knowingness, suspiciousness towards others, secret habits, paranoid schizophrenia. Who knows? Driving ambition. 9 of Cups. That's interesting. Emotional greed, selfishness, indifference, detachment, and a fear of others. And her primary obstacle going through life is moving forward with the Chariot. Let's see what else we've got. In-game aggression as a demonstration of strength and agility, protective aggression, frustration, jealousy, and revenge. Elements of sadism. Okay, well, this is what we've got for her. Let's see if we can look into Al Travis, like what kind of person he was. And again, allegedly. Tarot card reading. All right, Travis Alexander. What's his personality like? Wheel of Fortune. That kind of makes sense, right? With his life. Now, normal Wheel of Fortunes, you kind of like the Wheel of Fortune turns maybe in your favor, maybe it's not in your favor. He seemed to be able to make things happen for himself. We also have obsessions, doubts, repeated defensive rituals when a person is afraid, and fatalism. Major past struggle was strength. That would be kind of keeping it together. But a love of power, addiction to unhealthy habits, and opportunism. Which, you can say both sides of the coin there. Oh, I have to cover that one up for sure. Okay, this is the Fool. This was hyperactivity, excessive eccentricities, states of hallucinations, illusions, raving, ignorance. The Fool always goes on a journey. He might not be prepared. He's not prepared for what he's going to... It's kind of like, I'll just wing it. Just a wing it personality. He's just going to wing it. And it seems like, because it's always like his life was full of ups and downs, and somehow he figured it out. He would just wing it. That makes sense. Overriding concern, heartbreak, 3 of Swords. Anxiety, negative thinking, panic attacks. Okay, so just a worried kind of guy. Just a little bit of anxiety going on. Just, and that makes sense if your life is seems to be in a constant up, down, not sure what's going to happen to you. Oh, I might have to cover this one too. This is the emotional undercurrent is the Empress, the mother card. I can't remember. I thought they lived with their parents. I don't remember. Grandparents. I don't remember why they weren't with the parents if they had passed. But we have then false pregnancy, mommy issues, and repressed sexuality is an underlying issue. Something he just kind of under the surface. We have our unspoken fear, 10 of Coins. That would be having the money to leave a legacy for your family. This is also in here, repression and bliss. So perhaps never finding bliss in his life. Just a fear of that, which makes sense if everything's up, down, going which way, you don't know. Obsession here, obsessed with the 4 of Coins. Stagnation and pathological stinginess. This is like a lack, never having enough. There's kind of like 4 of Coins is usually like the greedy card. I'm holding on to my stuff. So there's this idea he wants to have plenty of money. He wants to have a family legacy. And he's just kind of worried about security, which kind of makes sense, right? We have the mommy issues going on here where if mommy wasn't around, you tend to not feel secure. Driving ambition, 2 of Swords. This is usually about decision making. Distracted attention, splitting of consciousness, difficulties in making decisions. So kind of having a hard time choosing which way to go. And the primary obstacle, 10 of Wands. Chronic overwork, chronic fatigue. So constantly like hustling to get the coins, to find the stability, to find the bliss, feeling like he's never going to get there. Life's always going to throw him the curveball, or be like on the Charlie Brown, was that Lucy that would move the football out of his way so Charlie couldn't kick it. That type of idea. Just a burden. So constantly working, trying to make things better. Well, these are like vastly different types of people. For sure. So let's continue on. Let's look into the relationship. We kind of saw what it was going on, but let's look at the relationship at that time in 2008. What was the relationship like in 2008 that brought us to the crime? Jodi alleged that he was being the A-word to her. ABU, fill in the last 2 letters. And he was leaving voicemails telling her, basically, you're nuts, get away from me. So what was that relationship at the time of the crime? He's ready to move on. He's ready to move on. He's focused on the goals again, which we saw. I'm not necessarily seeing I'm not seeing what she alleged. And it's interesting here with her as well. There's this idea he's looking to move towards his goals, right? And he's looking to make that stability that we saw earlier, having his, building his solid foundation, his house, then building a family, wealth, etc. A normal adult way they go. I don't know. Do adults do this anymore? I don't know. There's this idea that he's not big on change, which makes sense from everything else we saw. There's this insecurity, not feeling safe. And there's this idea that he's not very good, and maybe that's why he had trouble making decisions. He's not very good at listening to his intuition. But it's almost like looking at this towards her, I'm looking to make a solid foundation of life, a solid life moving forward. Personal death card. I'm done. We're making a change. So he's just done with her. There's nothing here where it's like cards of rawr. That's not to say people don't say nasty shit to each other. They do. But her, she's looking like, okay, time to move on, right? And she's looking for some new dude. However, she's kind of pissed here because she felt like she wasted time. This was a wasted investment of her time and energy into him. And she was getting kind of bitter about it. Bitter times 10. And there's this idea, too, that he didn't really want to work on the relationship with her. Like, we can make this work. If you just work with me, we can make this work. So, but it's not, I'm not seeing what was alleged. That tends to make me think that, sometimes we see in trials snippets and people piece together stories in their mind of a bigger thing than perhaps it was. So, was Travis afraid of her? I'm curious because it seems like he's just kind of like focused on his path. Not so much about her, but was he afraid of her? Had he seen something in the past that he said that he actually seriously need to be worried about her? Or maybe he just didn't listen to his intuition. Okay, the relationship's not working. He knows he has to get away from her, but his intuition's blocked again. It's almost like he had an addiction to her and he knew he had to quit the addiction. But there's this idea that there's that Fool card again, but in reverse, like just a continuance of making bad decisions. Like, I know I shouldn't be with this person, but I can't quit. I can't quit this person. But there's not like, oh, I see danger on the horizon. I don't think he was seeing that. Which would make sense. Why else would he let her into his house? What is she thinking when she comes into the house in 2008? What is she thinking? Weighing options. There's some idea here that, like, there's some idea of plans that are already in place. We can do option 1. We can do option 2. I'm hoping that we can have a happy surprise. Things don't go as her planned in terms of what she was hoping for a happy surprise. Somehow we've already skipped into drama-rama. Yeah, okay, I guess we're going there, cards. I just wanted to know her mindset going into this. This is like, I'm weighing my options. I hope that there is a happy outcome that we'll be able to continue on with this relationship. And then it's like, no, not moving forward. And then this causes a bunch of like spinning in her mind of what? I don't know what you mean. No, how can this be? No. We're going to fix this and go the right way. Okay, great. Was taking Travis off of the earth plane, was that premeditated? The way I will say it, now I think they say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they say that, premeditation can happen within 1 second before the crime occurs. This was always an option on the table, the option that she didn't want to do or wasn't intending to do because she thought she could make him love her. That's the idea that's coming across here. In terms of what she was feeling, if you're going to reject me, then I have no choice but to lash out at you. She did not want what he was offering on terms of like, let's be friends, move on. No, she did not want that. And it's this idea that if I can't, it's almost like if I can't have you, no one can. But if I can't have you, I've put in so much work and energy into you. I cannot believe this. And there is some type of minimization of her, like hiding her violent maybe tendencies, something to that effect of, don't be silly, I wouldn't do something like that to you. Okay. Okay, so last resort, but it was an option on the table. It was an option on the table because he's not interested in continuing the relationship. Now, she had brought up this idea that in the beginning, before she confessed to everything, she brought up an idea that there was these like masked intruders that came into the house and they did it, and she was just so surprised. So why'd she come up with this stupid story about the ninjas or whatever she called them, about them coming into the house? Interesting, those cards keep coming up. I feel that this was something that just kind of like popped out of her mouth. She's trying to avoid. It is kind of like acknowledging to herself, but acknowledging to anyone else that she was a part of it. And it's kind of an idea that, well, what's done is done, and I'm not going to admit to it. And so that was like the thing that came to her mind, much like, questioning a child, like, how did this happen? How'd all the paint get on the floor? I don't know. My teddy bear knocked it down. Just a random, not thought through excuse that compounded. Okay. I don't think this is, but we will ask, was this self-defense? No, this is not. This is someone who has been rejected and will do the justice and feels good about it. You got what you deserve. So it's not self-defense, no matter what she was trying to spin, and I don't know that anybody believed her. No. All right. What was up at the end of her, or during her sentencing part of the phase? I believe that's the part of the trial where she starts to remember all the details. During the trial, when she was on the stand, she couldn't remember a lot of things. She could remember all these other crazy details of her life, but she could not remember, taking of Travis's life. So how did her fog lift? What was up with her telling how the crime happened? What's the motivation? Taking back power and trying to repair her performance on the stand. So there is this idea, I'm coming clean in order to save myself. And not wanting, like realizing that now that she's gotten to a point where now we're sentencing, the jury's determined there is guilt. There is like, well, that didn't go as well as I thought, and pretending I had amnesia. I want to regain the story, take the control back of the narration of my story, because I do not want to meet my maker. Oh, God. Anyhow, is she remorseful? I don't remember. Do you? Tell me in the comments. Did she ever apologize to the family? Like, I'm sure it wasn't probably seemingly genuine, but maybe it was. Maybe she's just, I know she's not. I was just going to make an excuse for her. Maybe she's a bad communicator. She's not. So, does she have remorse about what she did to Travis Alexander? Nope. I think she's got it twisted up in her mind now. She's kind of like OJ, still looking for the real killers out on the golf course. This is very much this, I'm buying into my own PR. I'm believing the stories I've told, and I'm sticking to it. So I don't have anything to feel bad about because, if it wasn't for him and how he treated me, we wouldn't be at this place. So there's no remorse. What does she think about being in jail? I know they say that they're trying to get her an appeal. But let's see, how does she like being in jail? Ever hopeful she'll get out. She thinks a lot about her past. This is not what she had dreamt of. I think she's kind of lonely over there. There's not a lot of people that she can trust and have any type of like relationship she can trust over there. I think in whatever ways she can, she does try to dominate relationships for her benefit. I think she's kind of shocked that there's quite a few people who are not friendly towards her. There's certain people like she's made an effort to be friends with. I think those that she thinks might be more vulnerable type people than her, meeker. There's that idea. She goes out of the way for people that would not be considered a threat to her, going after those people. But yeah, this is like, this was the last thing she expected was going to happen. And no, I don't think she's not enjoying herself. Let's say that. I think we've heard stories of other criminals who seemingly thrive within the jail system, but she's not. She does sell a lot of her art. They sell the art, and they say that the money in her selling the art is going to support her appeal process. Is she ever going to get released? I'm saying general, the odds are like 99% against. The only way that this comes through, that there is a release, is because there's a technicality that would get her out. That is the only thing that I could see. It's yeah, there's a technicality. If there's some way, and I think they've already they've denied appeals, but I don't know how many appeals she has, but there might be a technicality that she could get out on. No, thank you. If she got out, what does that do for her moving forward? If she got out of prison, what does Jodi Arias' life look like? Doesn't go well. There's this idea of, again, desiring to dominate over someone. There's this idea, I've been out of the world for so long, it is foreign to me. I don't know how to do things. People see her for who she is, that, they see her as a shady person. Might be able to make some money, probably a tell-all or a book, whatever. At some point, if she was to be released on that technicality thing. Yeah, it looks like there would be some way to make some money selling her story about being locked up. She would sell all of her secrets for $1, yeah, or $2. So if she got out, she would be moving forward with her life. Close relationships would not be a thing that's happening, but she would cash in on her story and whatever else. Okay, great. Last, she had said she designed that t-shirt that she showed in the sentencing phase, and she was going to be donating to those charities, of DV. How's that supporting of the charity going? Not good. If she is, by seeing these cards here, in my opinion, I would say that I don't know what fool's going to buy a shirt from her to think that it's going to then get proceeds donated to a DV charity. However, if someone did, I would be looking at the books, because I don't believe that money was going where it was supposed to go. I don't think so. I think that would be going to her defense fund or appeals fund or whatever funds that she's doing. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and join me in the Moon Moth Manor, and I will see you next time. Adios.